basement of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Hall. I'm your host with the most, Jersey Joe, and I know by now everyone has talked about the Peyton Manning story. Everyone has read about and seen things about it, but it's time to talk a little bit about, just in general, athletes being paid for their services when they're past their prime. And we see it a lot. It gets very ugly when there's a transcendent talent, a superstar who did a lot of winning and was just such a face of a franchise and of a sport for so long. When they're past their prime, things don't go well on the way out, especially when their deals are up. And a lot of guys I feel like feel like they deserve to get paid for what they did in the past. Organizations feel like they're kind of stuck with what the guy has meant, what he has done for them, and not what he can do now. Perfect example is Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, when he accepted that deal with the 2-year deal, look, we all know this Lakers team is in absolutely no position to compete for anything. When Kobe signed the deal, we understood the Lakers had absolutely no position to compete for anything. And instead of, Kobe took all that money instead of maybe taking a reduced deal and bringing in some more talent to kind of try to speed up the process of getting back to a relevant position in the NBA. But Kobe took the money, and I feel like a lot of people's arguments that summer when all this talk and the controversy was coming out was, well, you can't. You've got, what he's meant to the Lakers, what he's done for that franchise. But, I think that sets a dangerous notion when you pay a guy based on what he's done for you and not what he can do for you. Kobe Bryant, we've seen, when he's played these last 2 seasons, he's still played pretty well, relatively well, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's breaking down, and we're just seeing it. And I think that's the thing that makes these deals very difficult. Even with Derek Jeter on his last contract was a little bit difficult for a little bit while, because I think the Yankees were still a little bit hesitant to give him that type of deal, because we do know he wasn't in his prime anymore, and it happens to every single player. But that's the difficult nature of it, is guys, I don't know if it's the players not knowing their value, or if it's just they're unwilling to accept that their services of what they've done they're still entitled to that kind of contract, or they just can't accept that they're not past their prime. I think Kobe is maybe a better example of that, because Kobe probably still has that mentality, and we even see it in Michael Jordan. If you ask Michael Jordan today if he could still drop 20 in the NBA or play, he probably still thinks so. He said in his Hall of Fame speech. So I think Kobe and Michael kind of still have that mentality where they are still the best. If you ask them today if they still came in and had to play a game, if you needed it all on the line, it was their ball, I think they take that shot. They still think that they could dominate in the game. But again, it's that mentality. I think mentalities are what sets those notions apart from one another. So it was refreshing to see from Peyton Manning that he did agree to a pay cut for the Denver Broncos, because I'm very happy Peyton Manning's coming back. Definitely nobody would have wanted to see his last game going out the way he did against the Colts in that game in the playoffs. That was not the way that a legend like that should go out. He clearly was not right. You could just see he couldn't throw the football for his life. There was something wrong there, and we know now there was an injury working behind that. But I think now it's interesting because he takes that reduced salary, about $4 million, from $19 million to $15 million, and even that is a lot. And I was listening to Colin Cowherd the other day, and he was saying, look, in terms of arm strength, Peyton Manning is probably the worst quarterback in the NFL right now, and I don't think I disagree. Peyton, the thing he still does, and I think the thing that still allows him and will allow him to play in this league, is just from an ability to understand the game and take full command. His ability to understand the game and his control at the line, that's something that can never go away. That's something that skill will never diminish. But his arm strength has been severely restricted. We definitely have seen, even when he came back from the surgery, people were saying, well, his arm strength doesn't look as good, but I never really remembered and thought of Peyton Manning for his arm strength. What I always thought about him was his precision and his accuracy, and that's not how it hasn't always been getting the ball down the field in a big, tight spot. It's always been about accuracy, and I think you'll definitely see the Broncos focus a lot more on those short passes, really moving the ball down the field more methodically. They'll still be fast and explosive, but I definitely don't think you're going to see as much of an emphasis on really killing it with a deep ball and getting those balls down the field, because they have speedy receivers who are physical, who can work the field. They're just going to have to be a lot more methodical next season. And it's interesting because where do the Broncos kind of stand now? I think we all still consider them a heavy favorite in the AFC West, but do we really still consider them a Super Bowl favorite? I just don't know if I'm willing to go that far. When you look at the AFC West in general, San Diego's still there. Phillip Rivers is still there. He'll be healthy. Mike McCoy's shown a lot of good things. You've got to look at what they do in the draft in the offseason. I definitely think they need another receiver. But, I mean, that is an interesting one there. You've got to think Oakland's going to only get better. Jack Del Rio was a good hire. You have your quarterback of the future. They might make some noise in free agency. And then you look at the Chiefs, who are the team that never seem to go away. Now, I think we kind of know what they are. They are a very slow and methodical team, and they have to really play a certain way. But that hasn't stopped Andy Reid from winning a lot of games there, so they will still be there. So you've got to think, logically, the other three teams in that division got better. And can you say that about Denver? Now, obviously, you bring back Peyton, but it's all going to be about where does he stand in terms of his ability right now. I still think his ability to command the huddle is going to help them win. I don't know if I'm ready to say they are division winners right now. Of course, they have as much a chance as anyone to make the playoffs, and they probably will. But I don't know right now if I'm ready to say that. It's just all about Peyton Manning. There's a lot of question marks there. We've got to see. I mean, when we get to around April 13th, it's when we're going to start to see him. We'll get to talk to him and see where he stands, how he's recovered. Because since they're older now, those hits are going to take a little bit more out of you. It's going to be a little bit more straining on your body. So there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of concern that you've got to take into consideration. But I think right now it's good to see Peyton back. I'm certainly glad, and that taking that contract, it's something that a lot of transcendent talents just can't accept at the end of their careers when they're not the same player anymore. But of course, from Peyton Manning, he did take that salary reduction, and it'll help the Broncos get another player. And like Colin Cowherd said, do you want another Condo or do you want to get another good linebacker? And I think Peyton Manning right now, I think he wants another good linebacker for that Broncos team. But that is going to do that for this segment. We'll be back later in the day to break down a lot more. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you in a little while.